I hope everybody's good and ready for tonight. Still got a couple of people that I need to let in the room. I feel like going to holler at them in the private Facebook group just to say hello, where are you? But welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully, just give it 1 minute. Well, 1 minute and a half. Let me try and get more people in and then we can kick off. But we've got our guest on the, he's already here. Fola is here and ready. Hi, Ayomide. Hope you're good.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, hi. Okay, Charles is here. Hey, Charles. Thanks for joining. Hey, hey.
Hey, good evening.
How are you doing? Hope you're good.
I'm
I guess we
fine.
can kick off. Well, let's give it a minute. Let's start on the dot 9:40. Good to go. But we're gonna have a good time tonight. I know we're gonna have a good time. We've got Fola, and Fola is as real as it gets, like as real as it gets. So should be good. I'm just gonna get my slides ready for the intro. Okay, fine. Here we go. Um, 1 second. So let me just give the format of tonight for the sake of everybody, including our guest who's with us tonight, Fola Alade. So tonight it's going to be in the, okay, we've got Glory coming. Glory's here. Great. So it's a great time to start actually. Hi, Glory. Hi. Hi, hi. Glad to see my faves. My faves are back. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I trust you've had a fantastic previous week. It's been pretty eventful on my end, lots going on. And yeah, I'm really excited to be in week 4. This is technically week 4 of the mentoring cohort. So I'm so excited. Like, I can't believe 4 weeks are done. We've got 2 weeks left. So well done, everyone, for sticking it through. So today is a really special day. We've got Fola Alade. Pretty. I'm gonna give you his full, like, his whole spec and everything. But I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna just start off by introducing the subject matter first, and then we're gonna get into some really good stuff with our guest facilitator for tonight. So we're gonna be talking about negotiation for success, and I bet everybody here has had to negotiate at least one thing today. Negotiation is one of those interesting, I would say, life skills that we don't always think of it as a skill. You think of it as something only lawyers do or something only trained negotiators do. But actually, tonight is going to be eye opening. We're going to be getting into negotiation as a life skill, negotiation as potentially the key to unlocking some areas in your life that perhaps you've not yet unlocked because you've not yet figured out that negotiation might be the reason why, or maybe not great negotiation skills are the reason why you're not getting that promotion, or the reason why you're not winning those arguments, or whatever you want to, whatever it is that you do in whatever context. Negotiation is one of those life skills that we all need, but we don't realize it. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and introduce the subject. So I'm just gonna share my screen so we can get on with things and get on with the subject matter. So if you can see my screen, I hope you can see my screen. It's loading, whatever that means. It says it's loading. Okay. Okay, my internet connection is unstable. Can you all hear me still? Can you all hear
Yeah, I
me?
can hear you.
Okay, great, great. I'm just, okay, great. Okay, here it is, here it is, here we are. So I hope you can see my screen. I hope. Can you all see my?
Nope.
No? Okay.
No.
Um, I'm not quite sure why that is happening. I'm not sure why that is happening. Oh, that would be why. You couldn't see my screen because I hadn't started sharing. Okay. Now we're good, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those days. So, thank you guys and ladies, guys and ladies. Today, we're going to be talking about negotiating for success. And as I said, we have a very special guest in the house. Very, very special. I'm telling you, he's my paddy, really. We go back in this business of negotiation. We're actually both we negotiate for a living as mediators. But if I talked about mediation, you guys would have been turned off. So negotiation is something that's a lot more familiar. So Fola is a very special guy. He negotiates, well, mediates for the United Nations. He's actually a lawyer turned businessman. He's one of those lawyers that felt, being a lawyer just sounds too cliche. It goes he does a lot more than just being a lawyer. He's a businessman, he's a motivational speaker, he's a mediator, he's a facilitator, trainer. He's the founder of the Attorney Mediators Association of Nigeria, and he's just a general badass kind of guy because he's always reminding us about how it's important to know your worth. So you're going to be hearing some echoes of certain messages tonight about your worth, knowing your self-worth. Because, like, for me, what I discovered is knowledge of self is like the beginning of wisdom, in the sense that when you begin to know your worth, you begin to know what you stand for, you begin to know what you stand to lose, you also begin to know what you stand to gain. So Fola is, I've said it all, notary public, accredited attorney mediator, the founder of the Attorney Mediator Association, and he's going to be here with us tonight after I do my quick intro to tell us, remind us, through his life experiences, how negotiation has literally powered his life, has made him successful, has opened up doors that he probably couldn't imagine. So we're very happy to have you here. And without further ado, I'm going to get into this. So, I always like to open my training sessions with a quote. I'm the quote queen. I love my quotes. And one of my favorite quotes on negotiation is by JFK at his inaugural address. And it goes like this: let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. And if you're anything like me, there was a time when I used to be scared to negotiate. I used to be scared to say what I want. Maybe it's my Catholic upbringing, I don't know. But saying what I wanted just sounded like I was being arrogant, being bossy, being selfish, not factoring other people. But you know what? This session is going to be very much about putting yourself first in a good way, not in an arrogant, selfish way, but in a self-care kind of way. Because if you don't look after yourself first, if you don't fill your cup first, you can't even begin to fill other people's cups. So never negotiate out of fear. Always come from a point of value, okay? And in life, this one is everything. In life, we do not get what we deserve. We get what we negotiate. That's just the truth. I'm sure you can all agree. In certain circumstances, you find that, sorry if my voice goes in and out because I have a bit of a cold, but yeah, in life you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. That's why life is sometimes fundamentally unfair. So what's negotiation? It simply refers to the art of communication, reaching an understanding that's presumably beneficial to both parties. So negotiation is about communication. It's about you tell me what you want, I tell you what I want, and hopefully we can see eye to eye and meet in the middle. So it's a bargaining, okay? It's a bargaining, and you do this in different situations. You do this at work. You might do this in your relationships. You do this sometimes when you're shopping. You do this when you're buying a house. Maybe not when you're renting, but definitely when you're buying a house, you can definitely negotiate. And as far as I'm concerned, everything in life is negotiable. That's my theory. Everything in life is negotiable. So, where do you need negotiation skills? Yoma, welcome. I'm glad you joined us. I know you're an hour behind, so I'm glad you joined us today. So, where do we typically utilize negotiation skills? Career and business, like I said before. Hope you guys can all hear me. Okay, yeah, you're welcome, Yoma. Emotional intelligence, sometimes, you need to understand the personalities you're dealing with. You need to know your personality as well. Are you melancholic? Are you sanguine? Are you aggressive? That kind of determines your, you know, how well or how bad you negotiate. Interpersonal skills, they say people who have a deep sense of empathy, they can put themselves in the shoes of another. You just know you have a way with people. Those interpersonal skills can actually help you become a better negotiator. So you might find that some people do it subconsciously because their personality just tends to help a little bit. And for some of us who may not necessarily have um, that type of natural personality skewed to negotiation, you learn it. Like I've had to learn it. I'm a trained mediator, just like Fola. So there's certain things that were not. I wasn't directly aware of because my personality, I'm actually quite impatient. I've had to learn how to be patient, to be a good mediator, you have to be a good active listener. So you'll just find that there's so many scenarios in your life where you're going to have to use negotiation skills. If there are any people who are parents, in this group, you'll find that you're constantly negotiating with your children, managing relationships as well. So there's so many instances where you find yourself using negotiation skills. And now we're talking about styles. I think I mentioned that briefly, right? So I don't know if any of you here have had any preconceived notions about what makes an excellent negotiator. I know we've got some lawyers in the house, but for those who are not lawyers, do you have any thoughts about how a negotiator should be? Perhaps you might think, oh, you have to be aggressive to be a good negotiator, or you have to be super patient. I mean, there's so many different styles, but yes, there are definitely the cliche styles as well. But there's different styles. There's the aggressive style, which I don't recommend at all. There's the collaborative style, which is kind of more my style based on my training as a mediator. There's avoidance. Anybody here just, maybe there's certain circumstances where you avoid. You just think, you know what, I'm just going to walk away from this scenario. I can't deal with this. Avoidance is not ideal because, you can't avoid problems. You simply delay them, but you can't avoid them. So I don't recommend avoidance either. Then there's compromise. You give some, get some. I mean, the objective of today's session is not necessarily to teach you these styles. No, because trust me, a negotiation session, it took me a week. In fact, it took me a year to become a certified mediator. But the objective of today is really to open your eyes to the principle of negotiation and perhaps begin to figure out, oh, okay, maybe if I begin to look at things differently, maybe if I begin to apply a compromising style or be more collaborative, I could improve my negotiation. So today is really just to open our eyes to negotiation and to show you that negotiation can actually get you into so many doors and so many places. So today is more of an overview, but Fola is going to do a brilliant job of distilling all the principles and bringing it to life through his experiences. So again, most negotiators have their preferred style. I've already told you my preferred style is is collaborative. I like people to feel like we're working together. It's also a psychological thing. When you give people well, it's not an impression just to play mind tricks, but really people like to feel like they're part of something. So when you collaborate with someone, whether it's a personal issue or maybe you are a third party and you're overseeing a mediation or two people having a dispute, you want to try and get them to resolve things without you necessarily deciding for both of them. So that collaborative style is something that I tend to like. I also like compromise. I do believe that there's a sacrifice in everything. Everything worth doing involves some sacrifice. So, you give a bit, you give a bit, you lose some, so that ends up in a win-win type of situation. So those are my preferred styles. And then obviously you have to assess the type of the circumstance under which you are negotiating. So a negotiation for a promotion is going to, obviously you're going to deploy perhaps quite different tactics to a negotiation in a market or a negotiation with your toddler or your niece or something. So different scenarios will require different negotiation styles. It's just something I want all of us to kind of have at the back of our minds, like be more intentional about your choice of negotiation style. And then for those of us who are lawyers here, yeah, that stereotypical aggressive approach. But the truth be told, I'm finding that more and more lawyers are also becoming more attuned to that collaborative approach. It's very, very pleasant when you meet other professionals that are more collaborative. They're not coming in strong or aggressive. So that generally helps with problem solving. So this is just a grid that shows all the different styles, and you end up using different styles in one scenario. So you could find yourself starting off slightly competitive, and then you gauge the tone of the person that you're involved with the negotiation. And if you find that they become a bit defensive, you might draw back and move into a more accommodating style. So the nice thing about negotiation is you are practicing a whole different host of different styles. You're not going to use one individual style the whole length of the negotiation. You're going to find yourself moving from one style to another. So it's just something we should all be very conscious about, in the different scenarios that we find ourselves. So again, what are the common skills you really ought to have to make you a good negotiator? And it's not just negotiation itself as a skill. Other skills actually help to bring negotiation as a skill together. Active listening. Before I became a mediator, I didn't realize how much of a non-active listener I was. So it's something I consciously had to practice listening. Literally, when you find yourself not talking for about 15 minutes because you're listening to someone else, it sounds easier than it is, but it's actually very hard. So active listening. Communication isn't just words. You are speaking, conveying a message that makes sense to the other person. So you're deliberately making sure you are using language or tone that helps the other person understand. You can imagine when you're having an argument or when you're helping people resolve a dispute and they are not hearing each other. What do you then do to help the negotiation? You have to speak in the language of the other party. Communicate in that language, translate it to I don't mean literal translation, but what I mean is you have to speak their language. What do they want to hear? What are the sweet spots or areas that they want to hear, and where could they draw back, and vice versa. So it's about communicating but making sense. Emotional intelligence. Fola's going to have a lot to say on this because he's actually a neuro linguistic practitioner. I know it sounds so huge. But he's going to talk about a bit more about NLP. It's actually an amazing certification to have, and it's very good for people who coach, for people who are in leadership positions. So I'm sure he'll talk to us a bit more about that. Managing expectations as well. If you want to be a brilliant negotiator, you also have to manage expectations. You have to manage either yours and the other parties, or if you're a third, or if you're acting as an umpire, let's say, you have to help the two parties manage expectations between themselves. Then patience. I've already given an example about how I learned patience when I became a mediator. And then obviously planning, integrity is key. You have to have integrity, because if you start saying things that are clearly not true, setting out facts that are, setting out facts that are not true, or understating facts, that kind of undermines your position as a good negotiator. And let's remember that ultimately negotiators are problem solvers. The reason why you're negotiating is because there's something you want, or there's something two parties want, but they both have very different ideas about how to get it or how not to get it. So remember that it's a problem. You have to be a problem solver fundamentally. Okay. So why do negotiations fail? I think these are the reasons that I thought would probably resonate the most. Revenge. At the top of the pile, human emotions get in the way. Let's be honest. Sometimes we can't see past our faces. We can't see the wood from the trees, because we're less focused on the end goal and more focused on just, getting back at that person. You end up, cutting off your nose to spite your face type of thing. So revenge, so lack of self-control, lack of emotional intelligence, unrealistic expectations as well. You just not putting things into perspective. That tends to break down communications during a negotiation. Poor communication, not able to speak the language that the other person wants to hear. Distrust. When there's no trust, you can't negotiate, because it's like it's just going in one ear and coming out of the other ear. Lack of trust is a major reason why negotiations break down. Major reason. And again, poor skills. So if you don't even have those skills inherently to be able to manage a discourse where you're talking about, oh, I would like to buy this house. I saw this house for 100 million. But I think it should be 80 because it needs a lot of upgrading, and you kind of don't use emotional intelligence, and you maybe rubbish the whole house. Of course, the house owner is going to think, you know what, you're not going to get that house for even if it was, I don't know, even if you paid me the full amount, I'm not going to give it to you because you've just rubbished my house. So emotional intelligence really comes in to play. Emotional antagonism, that's linked as well. Personalities clashing, unrealistic assessment of interests and alternatives. So there's so many reasons, but these were some of the main reasons I found as to why they fail. Now, just a couple of tips before we get into the conversation with Fola. So preparation is key. Can't go wrong, knowing a lot more about the matter, the topic, circumstances. Let's say, I won't talk too much about it because Fola is going to get into that, but preparation is really, really key. You can't go into, say, a promotional interview and you don't even know what the detail of the role you're stepping into, you don't even know the details of the role you're stepping into, or you're trying to negotiate for, say, to buy a new property, and you don't know enough about the area. Perhaps that area is prone to flooding, and you trying to use that as like the hook to reduce the price. If you didn't know that, then you wouldn't really have much to stand on. So knowledge is really key. And I think another important one is knowing that everything is negotiable. And I mean everything. Some things you think are not negotiable are actually negotiable. So having an open mind about negotiation, being prepared to use the skill. In any situation you find yourself, you'll be surprised. Most people are willing to negotiate. I mean, even imagine, someone being in a hard pressed situation and they're unable to pay for, say, trying to think of something that say even in the supermarket, let's say, and some products there have maybe gone off, the expiry date is near, and they feel like, okay, well, I'd like to buy a lot more of these. Do you think you could give me an additional discount? You'll be surprised. They might just accept it, but you never know until you put it forward. So just know that negotiation, there's always room to negotiate. Listen more than you talk. I think I've already mentioned this. We've been given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, to listen double the amount of time that we talk, because it's through listening that we get to understand the facts, the background, the circumstances. We tend to make assumptions less when we listen more. Yeah, and just knowing what's at stake. So I think without further ado, I'm going to get Fola on. That was just a background on negotiation, but yeah, let's get into the main gist of tonight. So Fola, do you want to come on and do your thing as you always do?
Okay, thank you so much, Bev. Can you hear me loud and clear? Great stuff. So, you know what you've been able to do? You've been able to set the bar so high, and I don't even know where or how to start from. But I think I just need to start off from the point of fact that what you've been able to do so far has been to go into the mechanics of negotiation. And negotiation really is, depending on how you look at it, can be a one size fits all. So we can look at negotiation from the point of view of mediation. You can even look at negotiation from every point of view, but I will be looking at negotiation from life and personal development. I would like to know whether that is still my brief for today. Okay, great stuff. How long am I supposed to speak for?
You have till 9. You're good.
9. Okay, I don't think I'm going to spend that long, but
That's fine. That's
so
fine.
yeah, so okay. Hello everyone. My name is Fola Alade, and Bev has introduced me. Let me just set the timer. So sometimes I tend to get carried away. Some one. Uh, okay. Yeah, great stuff. You know, when Bev, because that's what I call her, told me to come and speak about negotiating your success, the first thing that came to mind was to try and see whether I could look at it from the point of view in which she did. But she said, no, you know what, Fala, why don't you look at it from business and life principles? And one of the reasons why I shy away from this topic is that it gets me in my emotions, for want of a better way to put it. Now, if you don't look, I would have actually preferred to have taken the first part like Bev did, because then I'm actually disassociated from what we're talking about, than to now equate it to life principles. But I can't do justice to this topic without talking about myself. Because at the end of the day, if you are going to look at what it takes to negotiate for success, you find that at every point in time in our life, we all negotiate for success. We all negotiate whether one way or the other. Thankfully, Bev has been able to take us through the dynamics of negotiation. So I'm really not going to focus on that. Neither am I going to come in from the academic point of view. Every day we negotiate. We negotiate with our spouses, we negotiate with children, we negotiate with parents, we negotiate with everything that we do. When we want to rent an apartment, when we want to buy anything, we negotiate. In fact, I'm yet to see, even when we want to get a job, we negotiate. And it would also interest you to know that negotiation might probably be one of the most important factor in your career development. So I dare say that negotiation is inherent in all of us. So one thing I've always wanted to do whenever people introduce me and talk about, oh, Fola is a mediator, Fola is a negotiator, He is a global mediator with the United Nations, UNICEF, and all that. It's actually go back to who I was before I understood what it took to negotiate for anything. Like every other person, I didn't do well, not like every other person. Well, like some people, growing up wasn't exactly that easy, for want of a better way to put it. Okay, a bit of an insight into who I am. I grew up in a family of four, one boy, three girls. Um, I'm going to fast forward to 2001 when I lost my dad. And I dare say that was when I started seeing life for what it was. And I'm not going to trace the successive failures that I've had. I always joke around and say something that sometimes I would actually wish when people want to introduce me, they first of all start from the scars and then go to the good stuff. I can tell you one thing for free, guys. I'm not a regular kind of student. And I'm going to start, first of all, with some of the successive failures I had. Lost my dad in 2001. That was when I was in year one. Year two, you know how it is like when family members come, they came with all their wahala. Year two, had carryover in year two, had a carryover in year three. For the law students, I'm sure, well, for the lawyers, I'm sure you guys will be able to feel part of what I'm saying. As at the time I got to year four, I had an outstanding of 44 units. Yes, please don't ask me what I was doing in school. Yeah, I had an outstanding 44 unit for carryover of 44 units. I was on probation. I was asked to withdraw, but for some no, I was on probation with the option of actually going to another department or being asked to withdraw. But I guess at that particular point in time, that was the first time I think the principle of negotiation hit me, where I asked myself that Fola, what do you really, really want from life? After putting in 4 years, would you actually want to settle for less? So somehow, some way, I think I had the first stint of trying to negotiate myself out of not leaving the university. But the mindset I had then was that, look, you know what? Why don't you at least get yourself out of it? So I had an extra year. I put in everything I had to put into becoming into not being rusticated, no, rather into not being asked to withdraw. So after 2 sessions, I finished with a very, very solid third class. Now, with that mindset of the fact that I had actually put in a little bit, I got into the law school. Now, the mindset for law school was not to have a first class, but was not to fail. So you can now imagine the kind of energy I put into law school. So armed with a third class and a pass, I came into the real world. And of course, with that kind of grade, it was not exactly easy getting a job. So I was called to the bar 2007. 2007, I worked in a litigation law firm, and I was there for 10 years. And I can tell you one thing for free about the 10 years I spent there. The only reason why I was in litigation was because I didn't know what I wanted to become, but I knew what I did not want to become. And I did not want to be a lawyer in active practice, whereas I was in litigation. I wasn't enjoying litigation. It was just a case of Fola, if you're not in litigation, what else would you do? I didn't want to work in a law firm. I didn't want to work in a in any legal outfit. I didn't want to work in a legal department of a corporate outfit. I remember when my mom was alive, and she would say to me that Fola, I think you're actually a corporate NFA. And I asked her what that means. She said, a no future ambition, or no future ambition. That how can you spend 6 years in the university, spend 10 years as a lawyer in active practice, and still not know what you want to become? Up until when in 2017, I had this matter in court for 4 years, and somehow, some way, I stumbled upon mediation. This was in 2017, and I dare say 2017 was a turning point for me. This was when I sat down. I got married in 2013, and it was in 2017 I had this paradigm shift, and this is where the principle of negotiation comes into play. This was when I had to ask myself this question: Fola, now that you're where you are right now, what do you want to do with your life? Are you going to sit back and take everything that life gives to you, or would you not settle for less and then begin to go for everything you have lost? And that was when everything changed. I got into mediation 2017. I became a with not wanting to settle for less. Now, I dare say you can see some of the plagues behind, from one certification into another certification into another certification. I set up my law firm, I set up my law firm and a mediation academy. And to the glory of God, I dare say that it's been one successful story after another. So when we now decide to look at the concept of negotiating for success, the question I'm going to ask you now is this: in what area of your life are you not putting in the best? Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier on, we all negotiate. Now, there's another definition of negotiation that I kind of like, which is communication for the purpose of persuasion. So, and and when we talk about persuasion, technically has to do with a way and manner of kind of being forceful. Now, to now expand the context of my discussion, I'm going to look at negotiating for success from the dimension of wellness. Now, there are different areas that make up the mental, the physical, and the social well-being of an individual. There are essentially 7. We have the physical, we have the emotional, we have the intellectual, we have social, we have spiritual, we have environmental, and we have occupational. And in trying to explain this, I'm also going to look at this beautiful country of ours, because you cannot extricate a lot of things from our present day reality. Now, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's physical, emotional, intellectual, thank you, social, spiritual, environmental, and occupational. Now let's look at our physical outlook. The way we are wired, a lot of times we are actually wired to, for want of a better way to put, to be docile. The average human being really does not want to do anything. It's always a function of, you know what, I want to do this and I can't do this. A typical example is for those that actually exercise. So I kind of have the feeling that I am speaking to myself. And engagement, they say, is the strength of clarity. So this is what we're going to do. I really wish I could actually get some of you to put on your videos, but since I can't get you to put on your videos, I will just look at some names and just probably mention. And oh, thank you so
Hey,
much, Yomi.
Yoma.
Yoma. Thank you so much, Yoma. So okay, so Yoma, I'm gonna, before I delve into the
It's on
dimension
my
of
video, so you don't call me.
okay. Can I get as many of you to please put on your videos so that I don't have to call you? Because yeah, can we do that? Because you know it's always, now what the dynamic about training is that
Oh.
oh yeah, dynamic about training is that if at the end of the day the videos are not on, you kind of have the feeling that you're speaking to yourself. So I don't know whether Ayomide, whether Ifoma, Adenike, Tuale, I don't know whether I got that name right. Glory, can actually please put on the videos. Okay, your emotion, Glory. So whoever is in emotion, can they please switch on the videos? Thank you so much. So before I delve into the dimensions of, yeah, the dimensions of wellness, or even if you can't put on your videos, you can, you could just answer any question I put by you. So can you tell me some of the areas in life you've had to negotiate? Anyone, please just unmute yourself. Let's just have a conversation around negotiating for success, because the concept is really very wide. So I'm trying to see how I can streamline it to whatever area you're probably having issues with. So in terms of wanting to negotiate for success, what areas of your life have you had to take some hard negotiations on? Let's start off from there. Anyone can please unmute. Okay, I'm going to start with the first person's name. Oh, thank you so much, Ayomide.
Good evening. Thank you so much
Hello.
for the session. Super. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. Okay. This is a funny story because
I
I
like
don't know
funny
if I
stories.
won at the end of the negotiation. I'm not sure if I won, but I remember one time that at my former place of work, I asked for a day off work, but I was given 5 days off work without pay. And the condition was for me to um, disclose why I needed to be off work for one day. And when I said it was personal, I was told that, okay, if I cannot disclose it, then I should take 5 days off without pay. And I remember that I tried to negotiate, as opposed to telling me to take 5 days off without pay. I mean, you're giving me 4 additional days. Why do you want to take off 4 days salary from my actual salary? Why don't we say, okay, you take it off from my leave allowance, or you just give me the one day off and then, forfeit the other additional 4 days that I did not actually ask for and I did not need, right? But unfortunately, management was not willing to budge. So I had to take the entire 5 days, but I came back to work because I didn't need 4 extra days. So I worked, all through the 4 days. And unfortunately, though, at the end of the month, the 5 day salary was taken from my salary. Now I felt unfairly treated, but somehow I was still I guess I don't know, I was still pleased that I tried to kick back against, them imposing 5 days on me when I asked for one day. And I tried to renegotiate, okay, how they should not take the money from my salary if they were so insistent on it, even though it was baseless. But I think that at the end of it all, I felt like I came off better than I was the weeks before, because it just somehow made me realize that I'm more about value creation as opposed to just punishment. Now, that's why I said it's a funny story, because I do not know if I won at the end of the day, because I still gave free labor, right? But then I feel like it was one of those times when I really stood up for myself and I negotiated, tried to negotiate my way. Though I did not win, but to me it was a win.
So here's the thing about, yeah, that's actually an excellent story, Ayomide. Thank you for setting the ball rolling. But one thing I've actually noticed about this part of the world we stay in is that when people stand up for themselves, they see them as being rude, they see them as being forward, they see them as being arrogant. You see, the average human being is resistant to change. The average human being always wants to be in control. And you see, if you are going to really amount to something in life, you have to be able to negotiate. Because in every area of your life, you are negotiating. Now, if you are not negotiating with yourself, that's the funny thing. We negotiate with ourselves. I don't know whether you know how it feels like. Okay, fine. You know what? I want to eat this food right now. Okay, now I know if I take this amount of calories, I don't know what will happen. So you know what? Maybe I will probably just take, if I'm supposed to have like 100, if every day I'm supposed to eat probably 200 calories, I'll probably say maybe take 50. If I take 50 this morning, I'll probably take maybe another 20 in the afternoon. I'm going to take 20. I'm going to take another 30. Now, the interesting thing about that conversation you have is always a conversation I like to always call between me, myself, and I. Because one thing you all need to understand is that you would always be in constant battle with yourself. There's always a constant battle going on in your mind. The battle sometimes might even be between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Now, this is me taking it a bit further. So, when Bev introduced me, she called me an emotional intelligence specialist and a neuro linguistics practitioner. Now, we have two sides to us. We have the conscious and we have the unconscious. Now, it would interest you to know that your conscious mind, that's the mind, the conscious mind, that is when you actually put in effort to do something. I'll give you an example, like maybe learning how to drive, learning how to do stuff and all that. When there's a bit of deliberateness, if there's such a word, and a bit of intention into doing things, it's just 5%. The remaining 95% is what you're not in control of. Now, you see what makes up that 95%? Your childhood, the trauma, the thing your brain takes from all around you. And you know the scariest part about the 95% is that you're not actually in control of it. You just find out that you tend to act in certain ways, and you begin to wonder why you act that way. I'll give you a typical example, and I'm sure I'm going to just sing a song, and if you know that song, just probably just write in the comment section, and now know fitness. If I broke now my business, I'm gonna show you for the life too. For like for the night too. You're laughing. Yoba. Do you guys know the song? They have literally frustrated my life. You see that song and this Umama Kumama Kumama this Bowana song like this that people have been using to do throwback and all of that and everything. But do you know that you guys did not actually take time out to learn that song? But somehow, some way, your subconscious actually picked up on that song, and you just find out that you just started singing that song word for word without even learning the lyrics of the song. That is how powerful your subconscious mind is. Now, another thing again, and I'm going somewhere because in anything I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try and link it to the topic of how to negotiate for success. Now, one day I hope to buy a G wagon. That's going to be that's definitely good. That's my dream car. That's my gesture of self-indulgence. Ever since I said to myself I was going to buy a G wagon, I've been seeing G wagons everywhere I go to. Turn left, see G wagon. But guess what? The G wagons have always been there. But the only reason why I started noticing that G wagon was because I tuned my mind to the G wagon. So that's why if any G wagon passes by, I immediately see that G wagon, and it registers in my subconscious that this is the type of car I want. So where am I going to with all of this? As you all take definite steps in life, you would have to first of all understand that you're all products of your environment, and all of you carry baggages that you all don't even know about. And that is why you notice sometimes that a child, you can take it, yeah, this is one research that was done that most children who grew up with single parents tend to be more independent minded than children who grew up with the father and the mother together. That's a particular research, and I'll tell you why it's like that. Or yeah, because you see, most times when there's a single parent, the children or child or boy or girl has gotten especially when the child grows up with the mom, has gotten accustomed to seeing the mother take decisions without the father. It's the child is already used to the fact that whenever the mom wants to do something, she does it. She does not have to consult the father and all of that. Now, when that kind of child grows up, the child already has it in the mind, in her subconscious, that look, when I need to do something, quote and unquote, I don't need any man. Now, when a man who grew up watching his father who grew up watching his mother take orders, or no, not that word order is a bit too extreme. Who grew up watching his parents work together towards taking any decision, he will probably not be able to understand why a woman would want to take a decision without consulting him. So it takes a higher level of awareness to understand that this child is a product of his or her environment. And where am I going to in terms of us trying to negotiate, in terms of what's it called, in terms of us trying to negotiate for success, is that in everybody there is a battle going on. The type of battle going on is that it is always a battle between good and bad, right and wrong. And it should also interest you to know that there are actually no right answers, because the same child who grew up watching his mother take a decision might actually be antagonistic of the fact that he has always seen his mother being independent. Rather, she has always seen her mother being independent, and will probably not even want to find herself in that kind of situation. So you see, the concept of trying to negotiate for success can either play both ways. But one thing you also need to understand is that in anything that you want to do, you have to be able to, for want of a better way to put it, I'm coming. Let me try to think of the word I was trying to look for here. Yeah. For want of a better way to put it, you have to be able to negotiate. Now, to expand that context better, I'm going to be looking at the 7 dimensions of wellness. First is physical. I started exercising some 3-4 years ago. I wish I could actually share my pictures with you to show you how fat I was then. And I remember when I started exercising, the first time I did 2 kilometers, I could barely go further than myself. And to the glory of God, today I do like maybe 15 or 20 kilometers. But I can tell you a constant battle that I had with my mind and my body. First, the mind will want to go, the body would say no. But guess what? I pushed myself, and now I can conveniently do 15 kilometers. So the question I'm going to ask you now is this: in what areas of your life are you settling for less? Because the funny thing there is this here: whatever you think you want to do, if you say to yourself that I can't go beyond 1 kilometer, trust me, you will definitely not go beyond 1 kilometer. So in that area, when it comes to your dimension of wellness with specific reference to physical, how well are you underchanging? How are you underchanging yourself? Another second dimension I'm also going to look at again is your emotional well-being. And this is where I think I try to explain the principle of emotional intelligence and how in anything and everything you do, there is always a battle going on inside of you. You see, I wish I could actually explain this without Bev, permission to actually be myself because I'm about to talk about Nigeria now. Because you see, now when we look at what is going on in this country, I tell people one thing that the government of the day is not the problem of Nigeria. I think Nigerians are the problem of Nigeria. And I discovered this not too long ago, and there's this analogy I like to use that if you take, I'm still going to link this to the emotional point of view. If you take every Nigerian and you put them in Dubai, and you bring all the Emiratis and you bring them to Nigeria, Nigerians will turn Dubai into the Sahara Desert, and the Emiratis will turn Nigeria into a superpower. The question there is the problem is not with the fact that we don't have enough, but the problem is with the mental construct of the average Nigerian. I don't know where I don't know where we got it wrong. I don't know how we found ourselves here. But the point is that at some point in time, we all just negotiated for some way of not even wanting to come out. We just negotiated ourselves into, how do I put it this way? We just negotiated ourselves into a box where at the end of the day, whatever comes our way, we give to it. Now, another area that I was also be looking at again is also occupational. And I'm sure this is where Ayomide's funny story comes into place. In our workplace, how are we settling for less? Wherein you feel you're supposed to get a promotion, you don't get a promotion, wherein you feel you're supposed to be where you are not, but because of the societal construct of, oh no, if I speak, I'm going to be, I'll be seen to be belligerent, I'm going to be seen to be rude, I'm going to be seen to be over ambitious. What area of our lives are we not going in for the best? Because the honest truth is this: whatever it is we settle for at the end of the day is what will come our way. Now let us look all around us. We have the likes of Elon Musk, we have the likes of Steve Jobs, we have the likes of Warren Buffett, we have the likes of, you just mentioned it. All of them did not settle for less. They all pushed themselves to get to where they are. And I always try to make people understand something, especially with the context of success. Success is very scientific, ladies and gentlemen, or rather, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, success is very, very scientific. There are certain things that if you do, your chances of becoming successful, they are really very high. And the foundation of it again is you not settling for yes, and you negotiating for what is the best. Now, let's look at the art of even speaking. What Bev and I do now. Chances are that if we have probably approached us some 2, 3, 4, 5, well, I don't know about Bev, but if you had probably approached me like 3, 4 years ago to come and speak, I probably would have declined. You want to know why? I have 3 major disabilities. Number 1, I can't pronounce R. So I don't exactly like people that have the alphabet R in their name. My name is Fola Romi, but I call myself Fola. So thankfully Ayomide's video is on, Yoma's video is on, so I'm going to sing a song and you guys have to promise not to laugh. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 oh merrily, life is just a dream. I can't pronounce R. But you know the funny thing there is, so you cannot imagine a scenario where most times I'm giving a speech, and it's also one of the reasons why when I talk very, very fast because I'm trying to glide over the 17th alphabet. But I made up my mind that I was not going to let that disability push me, not make me become the best of myself. And I also stammer. You really need to see me when I get upset. Now that I get upset, I just keep quiet and I just smile. But back in the days, oh no, man. So most times once it gets to that level, I'll just use my favorite English word that starts with the F. I just I just keep quiet. I just probably just go on like that. So the point I'm just trying to bring out of all of this is that in nothing good comes without determination. Nothing good comes without you pushing yourself for it, and you would always be in constant battle with principalities. And it's now left for you to now make up your mind that look, you know what, within the framework of where I've gotten to, I would definitely not allow this push me down. And that's why I started off with the second part of negotiating by saying that success is scientific. Guys, if you put in the hard work, you are consistent, at the end of the day, it's just a function of time. You will definitely be very successful at whatever it is you do. And there's something I always try to explain to people that consistency really is the cheat code. You just think of something that you're very, very good at today, and try and go back to maybe 4 or 5 years, and you laugh at yourself. A typical example is driving. How many of you here drive? If you know you drive, please just raise your virtual hand. If you know you drive, just raise your virtual hand. And, okay, you drive. Do you know driving is not easy? Do you know how many senses work when you drive? You have 2 hands on the steering. I don't even know who came up with the idea that driving with 2 hands is very comfortable, honestly speaking. Because if you ask me, I think 1 hand is still better than 2 hands. But they say you should actually have 2 hands on the steering. You have 2 hands. You have your eyes looking at you. You have your ears listening to the music. You have 1 leg on the pedal. You probably have your right hand changing the gear and all of that. So the point I'm just trying to bring out of all of this is that everything that you think you do today, that you probably have committed to muscle memory some some years ago was not like this. So when we now have to isolate the concept of negotiation as a topic on its own, the question is this: do you know how long we have been negotiating? Do you know how long we have? Because really, when it comes to negotiating, really, if you ask me, it's basically not settling for less. A lot of us actually have it ingrained in us. But I don't know whether it's maturity, I don't know whether it's awareness, I don't know whether it's a consciousness of our surrounding that has made a lot of us not see what we actually have in us. Because you just look at the baby. When the baby wants to walk, what does the baby do? The baby crawls, he stands up, he falls, and you know what's going on? That's actually like a battle of some sort. No, 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 no. I'm going to stand up. I'm not going to. No, 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 no. I would not go down. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to walk. The baby walks, falls, walks until the baby starts walking. So within the framework of you negotiating for your success, if I'm going to tell you to do, if there are three things I would admonish everyone to do. Number one really is to actually be self-aware. Because at the end of the day, awareness is everything. And when we're looking at the framework of awareness, is knowing what your relative strengths and weaknesses are. Because once you have that level of awareness, you are able to know what to give attention to and what to not give attention to. The second thing I'm also going to look at again within the framework of you negotiating for success is you being intentional. You see, you don't achieve anything in life if you don't put if you are not intentional about it. Then the third thing I'm also going to talk about again is you being focused and then you having a plan. Someone asked me a question don't know, 6 months ago. Yes, just 6 months ago. I was like, Fola, you're hell bent on being successful. You want to make all this money. You want to be this. You want to be that, and all that. When you eventually make that money, what next? What are you going to do next? At that point, I paused because I have not been able to think. I never thought beyond what I would do when I have money. And hey, I've just made up my mind that at the end of the day, whatever amount of money I have, once I feel I've been able to acquire enough, the next thing I'm going to do is to give back. And that is basically where I am right now. So the essence of today's presentation is really not to tell you what you don't already know. That's a honest truth. It's just to call attention to what you already have inside of you. And for you to see the concept of negotiation as a one size fits all, because that is one thing you'd always do. We are always negotiating, whether we like it or not. Go to the market, you want to buy something, you always have to negotiate. You are having conversations in the office, you always have to negotiate. Even in your marriage, you always have to negotiate. Everything really is all about negotiating. So what I struggle to understand when I'm having this conversation with some people is that when you can negotiate for everything, so why would you now find it difficult to negotiate for success? Because the people that are doing what you are not presently doing is because they have been able to push the boundaries further to get to where they are right now. And I'm trying so hard not to be too academic about explaining the concept of negotiations for success. But at the end of the day, just going to pause now and see whether anybody has any feedback, comments, and I will then use that as a basis for expanding whatever discussion I'm having right now. So if you have any question, you have a feedback, you have a comment, you need proper explanation on any of the things I've said, please let me just take it. I'll rather take it now. Because I actually like engagement. Like I would always say, engagement for me is the strength of clarity. So if you have anything, Twali, I don't know whether you raised your hand up or this was when I asked that question. So if anybody has any question to ask, now will be the time.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, Martin. Good evening.
Sorry, I joined a bit late.
No, it's fine.
I just wanted you to shed more light in, when you say negotiation is scientific.
No, success is scientific.
Yeah, if you could drive that home a little bit more for us.
Okay. Can I act like the average Nigerian by responding with a question? Can you mention one successful person you know that you probably know his story? It could be someone here, it could be anybody. But please let's use someone that at least that is a bit popular, so I don't shoot myself in the foot.
Well, I don't know the stories of anyone popular. I just know them when they become successful or when
Okay,
they
who?
appear successful. Yeah.
Okay, let's not talk about the average Nigerian, because if you're going to talk about that, a lot of them will probably. I don't know whether you're familiar with Steve Jobs' story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of what he had to put in. No. Let's not use Steve Jobs. I'm not too familiar. Let's use this Amazon guy. What's his name?
Jeff
Jeff Bezos.
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos. Yeah. I saw a picture of when Jeff Bezos started off in a garage, and how he had to put in all the work and all of that and everything. When Jeff Bezos started off, the whole concept of Amazon we really had to do first of all with books, with buying things online, and somehow, some way, he was able to take it from that level to another level. So within the framework of me trying to say success is scientific, is that, look, when you put in a certain level of hard work, definitely you become an expert at it. And from hard work comes smart work. From smart work, yes, because a lot of times people think smartness comes before hard work. But at the end of the day, if you're going to, like the example I used about driving, the only reason why you can drive with one hand is because you first of all started off driving with two hands. Whatever it is that you do so well right now, the only reason why you're able to do it so well is because you have done it over and over and over and over and over again. So within the framework of success being scientific, is that when you put in the hard work, when you are consistent, consistency really is the cheat code. You become an expert. And when you become an expert at whatever it is you do, it's only a function of time that success will come your way. So it's almost like 1 plus 1 being 2. And for someone like myself, I really know that as much as I might say I believe in luck, I believe in the fact that the harder you work hard, the luckier you become. Now, there's a particular trajectory that the average successful man goes through. If you look at it, first of all, they put in the hard work. They have this never say die attitude. They are always trying to improve on whatever it is they have. And in trying to improve on whatever it is they have, they never take no for an answer. They are innovative. They think outside the box. So it's almost easy to say that if you follow the way they are doing, chances are that you probably end up where they are. I'll use myself as an example. I have someone that I look up to as a mentor in the mediation industry, and I dare say that I'm following his footpath. I read his book. I know what he had to do to get to where he has become right now, and almost in the same way, I can see everything actually falling into place. So that's basically what I was trying to explain by something being scientific, to the effect that it is almost predictable that when you do XYZ, the likelihood of getting to that particular thing will be higher. I don't know whether within the framework of that I've been able to answer your question, Martin.
Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so do we have any questions to take?
Yoma had a question. What is a good way to gain self awareness? Yoma is asking.
Hmm. Okay, now people have different ways of gaining self awareness. I think I will tell you about my own way of gaining self awareness. Number one is, first of all, to be aware of your BS. I don't know whether this is online, so I probably would not be able to explain further. Let's be honest, you see, you are the greatest critic of yourself. You need to be able to, you need to sit yourself down and have a conversation with yourself. You see, nobody knows you better than you know yourself. Now, for someone like me, I like to write. So when I was going to be aware of myself, you know what the first thing I did? I picked up a piece of paper. I wrote at the first rate, I wrote what my strengths are. Behind, I wrote what my weaknesses were. And now start. I highlighted all my strengths. I wrote it down. I turned around. I now started tracing my background. Okay, the things that get me upset, the things I'm very, very sensitive about, the things that get me agitated. Now, it's easy for me to talk about it right now, but somewhere in the scheme of things, well, one part I deliberately left out of my story was at some point in time I struggled with depression. In fact, I so struggled with depression that I literally tried to kill myself twice. This was not, it's a different thing when you think about it. Oh, I literally tried twice. The first time was when I tried to take poison. For some strange reasons, it didn't work. The second time, I literally had a rope around my neck, but the rope actually came off. I think that was actually one of the changing points in my life because I just said to myself that, Fola, this one that you have refused to die, you might as well just make something out of your life. So it was just a case of, look, Fola, this one that God has refused to take you, so you might as well just die trying. But when I became emotionally intelligent, I discovered that a lot of problems I had vis-a-vis low self-esteem, low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and all of that actually stemmed from when I lost my dad. I lost my dad 2001. I lost my mom 2018. So I didn't have, and when I was growing up, I lived a very sheltered life. You know that kind of life we all give our kids, where you have the school bus coming to pick them up, taking them to school and all that. You cannot imagine a scenario where somebody just takes away that, and then you being the first boy, first son, and only son, and throwing you out into the open. So I could not contend with the outside world, and that broke me down. And I dare say that was where the problem started off from. So I had barely gotten over that. I also had to contend with finishing from school with a third class. So I carried that stigma for a while. So, but all the while I was actually blaming everybody but myself. So when I decided to do that white paper project, like I call it, where I sat down and I said to myself, okay, fine, Fola, why are you overly sensitive? Why are you petty? Why are you this? Why are you this? So you see, when you now take that white paper, you now write down all your weaknesses. You now go back to each and every one of them. You find out that there is a reason why you act that way. And for Christ's sake, once you've been able to identify what your relative strengths and weaknesses are, you have two choices. Your strengths, you can actually decide to accentuate them, work on them. No, sorry, no. Your strengths, you can actually decide to accentuate them. Your weaknesses, you can actually acknowledge the fact that you have these weaknesses, and you definitely try and see how you can work towards them. So there's really nothing anybody can tell me about myself right now that I don't know. So what are my strengths? I have a sweet mouth. Back in the days when men were boys, before Jesus Christ took over, I know what we used. I know what I use that sweet mouth to do. So this is where it gets funny. I'm not like Twale here. I think Twale is a fine guy. See, someone like Twale now, if someone like Twale and I now, back in the days, when if Twale, someone like Twale now, let's assume he goes out and all of that. Twale is the kind of person that he will sit down, you have ladies all over him. People like us, we have to work hard, So we know we didn't have any talent. The only talent we had was our sweet mouth, So so I was able to build. So I'm the kind of person that back in the days, once a lady has a very good sense of humor, once you have a good sense of humor, and you like to laugh, forget it. You see, when you see all those quiet girls, all those mini devils, like I call them, that you don't even know what is going on through their minds. I always avoid quiet women because you don't know what is going through their mind. So I knew what my strength was when I wrote my strength. Fola can talk. So which is basically what I'm trying to, which is basically what one of the major inflows that come in now through facilitation and through training. You can see how in writing down what my relative areas of strength is, I'm able to actually develop them. Because one, I was brutally honest to myself. I know I have a very good sense of humor. I know I'm very, 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 I know I'm smart, but I'm not brilliant. That's the thing. There's a difference between being smart and being brilliant. Brilliant, it has to do with you probably sitting down to write an exam to pass and all that, but I can tell you for free that I've never passed any exams before in my life. I've literally never had an A, never had a B, never had a C. See all these qualifications you see behind, they're all certification. Most of them are certification certificates I've gotten. Tell me to sit down for an exam right now, I probably would fail. So I know myself. So what do? I shy away from anything examination. I tried it once. So the funny thing, I think 2 years ago, where somehow, somewhere in my mind, I just felt, Fola, look, you speak everywhere. People call you for hours, seminar. Why don't you even try and see whether I can write an examination? I went to IELTS. I failed that exam. In fact, I don't think, I failed IELTS. Like at that point, I was like, what, Fola, just stick to whatever it is you are doing. So when it comes to quantitative reasoning, when it comes to things that have to do with thinking and all of that, but I now discovered why I actually have a phobia for exams, and I'll tell you why. When I was growing up, I remember when I failed was it a subject in primary school. My dad beat me so hard that I still remember that day like yesterday. He beat me so hard that I actually had marks on my body. So right now, I turned 40 last year. If I see any examination paper, I would freeze. My mind will freeze. No jokes. I can't process. It just freezes. So and I think I still carry with me that childhood trauma. I can sit down, I can have a conversation with you on everything I've read. But once I just see an examination paper, it freezes, and I can't process it anymore. So what am I trying to bring out of all of this? So as much as possible, I avoid anything that has to do with me regurgitating ideas. So the first place, the first step is, because the first step is now that I've been able to accept, I've been able to identify what my relative strengths are, and what I know what my relative weaknesses are, and I try to see whether I can work on my weaknesses. If I can't work on them, I accept them. So that's basically how I'm going to tell you, explain you developing self-awareness. You should just being very aware of who you are. Just have a conversation with yourself. I don't believe in asking people what they think of me, because a lot of times what people try to do when you ask them that question is to try and mirror themselves through you. You know yourself way better than any other person. I don't know whether you might have been able to answer that question and whether you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, you're most welcome.
I have
Okay,
a question.
okay, I
Glory.
think Ayomide's hand came up before the
Oh,
question. Can I
yes.
take
Okay.
that? Yeah, Ayomide, your question. Can you imagine? Say Ayomide. I'm actually a Yoruba guy. Ayomide. Yeah, talk to me.
Yes, thank you. So my question revolves around the environmental, occupational,
Okay.
and intellectual success, or areas to negotiate for success. And it's a lot of times success is seen as the the things you can see and touch. Like, okay, so you got a new job and then you've been upgraded, you can buy a new car, you can live it like in a choice location, right? That's success. But then also some other times success comes at the soft things that we can't see, like you realize that you have more substance, or like you have more tenacity or more resilience. But then my focus is on success that you can see and that you can touch. And I'm going to give in context of work environment, where you work in a place where intellectually, they applaud you. The environment might not be the best in terms of, they do not have processes, or they do not have like a structure. But then, occupationally, like you're growing, you see it as a place to learn and all of that. But then when it comes to the point where you try to negotiate like a better term for yourself, or you try to canvas for, can we have more structure so that I know how I'm being appraised, so that, there's an appraisal system that is, clear and straight to the point. There's a way that I can continue working here and I see myself growing, and then what most people will say is, okay, that's great. That's a very welcome idea and we'll look into it. And then 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, another year, nobody's looking into it. But then, and then when you try to be more assertive, or you try to, in quotes, push your luck, because, but then I don't see that pushing my luck, but that is how it is perceived. And you don't actually get what you want. So you do not actually get your visible success, the one that you can see, the one you can touch, like an increase in your salary or anything like that, or like you can see that there's a growth for me here. how would you advise, seeing that you have more experience, you'd have worked with people more, like you worked in a law firm, in a litigation firm for 10 years, like how would you advise somebody that is coming up on how to get from management what you think is right? And because sometimes the environment might be bullish, and other people in the environment might be like, it's not my father's company anyways, I'm just going to look for another job and port to another place. But before we port, we're still going to, in quotes, suffer some kind of damage. So like, what is your advice for trying to get management to give you what you deserve? Like, don't just say, you're a smart girl, I'm a smart girl, and so that's my question.
Okay, I'm going to answer that question with just 2 words: be emotionally intelligent. You see, people don't understand the power of emotional intelligence in the scheme of things. You see, emotional intelligence is the ability to is the fusion of the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act. Now, I'm not going to give you one technical answer and tell you have to be this, you have to be that, and all of that. You see, emotional intelligence has to do with you having an understanding of who you are and trying to understand how people are. You see, emotional intelligence has to do with the fact that you know that we are all wired differently. Now, emotional intelligence, some people call it they call it playing politics. But at the end of the day, I beg to disagree. Now, within the framework of what you have just said, it's the foundation of everything is for you to put in the work. Be hardworking. You see, people see through people. You might think they are not, you might think people are not observing, but people see through people. First of all, put in the work. When you put in the work, try and study whoever it is. Sorry, yeah. Try and study whoever it is that you have to report to. You see, the average human being is 95% emotional and 5% logical. But you know what they do? Once they make emotional decisions, they try to justify it with logic. So what am I trying to explain to you is that no matter how hard-hearted whoever it is you are working on, whoever it is you are reporting to is, the person is also emotional. So what I'm trying to explain is that try to understand who your boss is. Try to understand when to get to this boss. Try to have an understanding of what it takes to be able. See, everybody, we all have moments of vulnerability. We all have, and apart from even being emotionally intelligent, also pay attention. I can tell you for free, if I need less than 2 or 3 interactions to be able to understand who I'm talking to. So once I have a conversation with someone, I know what makes that. I have an idea of what makes that person happy, what makes that person upset, what makes that person sad. So chances are that if I make a request when someone is happy, there's a higher probability of getting something off that person than when the person is actually sad or when the person is upset. So what I'm going to ask by way of expanding this context is that try and read more books on emotional intelligence and try and pay attention. You see, people leave clues. Try and pay attention. And you see, no, the way emotional intelligence works is that unless someone is wacko up there, once you are sad on the inside, it will actually reflect on the outside. Once you are happy on the inside, it reflects on the outside. So if you ask me, I think just be a bit more emotionally intelligent and emotionally intelligent, but best of all, pay attention. Pay attention. The answers are usually in the question, because I don't want to give you a one size fits all answer, because at the end of the day, you will find out that each human being, based on their upbringing, based on their philosophy, based on their ideologies, they all operate differently. If I tell you to act in a particular way with A, chances are that when you meet B, it might not be the same way with the person. So that's just be emotionally intelligent. There's so many things on emotional intelligence that you can read. So many things, because really and truly, once you are able to evoke emotion, and once you are able to establish rapport, you see, rapport has to do with the state of where it has to do with you having has to do with you connecting with somebody on a particular level. Trust me, there's really nothing you can get from the person. Nothing. And that is why somebody like a Fola would probably come and talk to someone. No, this is why somebody like maybe a Jeff will come and talk to somebody, and the person will be like, oh man, I can't stand this Jeff. But somebody like Fola will probably come out, Fola is a very funny guy. He has a very good sense of humor. He is this, is that, and all that. The only reason why that person might be a bit more receptive to me is because I've been able to establish rapport. Yeah, I don't know whether somehow, some way I've been able to answer that question, Ayomide. Just three words: be emotionally intelligent, be pay attention, and understand that people are far more emotional than they are logical. That one, of course, still ties down to the first statement I made. Okay, I think we have some questions in the comment section. Do you
Yes,
want to
we
take them?
do. Glory. So Glory says, how did you find the motivation to stay focused at the time you became self-aware? Did you have to engage in external support, or was this purely an aggressive self-determination to succeed strategy?
So when you have failed at almost everything in life, you just you just find it. For you see, for someone like myself, yeah, I think the only thing I probably never failed in was my marriage, and I'm sure that was even a fluke. Sef. You know, those kind of things that you just think and you just know that God, just like this one was just God, was not because of anything. So you see, when you failed at practically everything, you no longer see failure the way people see failure. I see failure as a learning phase. I see failure as success turned inside out. So I'm no longer scared of failing. So for someone like me, I'm no longer scared of failing, because what I always ask myself is that, really, what's the worst that can happen? That's the one. What's the worst that can happen? And the way people see failure, I no longer see failure like that. I see failure as a learning process. I see failure as one less way of doing something. So I think the short answer to your question is I just basically embraced failure. And besides that, when you have, for Christ's sake, like I said, I've never had an A, B, or C. My result would always be a D fail, would always be feed. You understand? I've always had to struggle with practically everything. So I basically embrace failure, and and if you're asking me how I dealt with it, basically through reading. I became very good friends with Quora and Medium and Google. You see, not everybody is expressive. I'm not the expressive person. I'm not the kind of person that will sit you down and start and become vulnerable to you. But one thing I am always vulnerable to is Google. Because, and let me tell you one thing I do. I just go on Google, I'll just type how to stop being sensitive, how to stop comparing myself to blah blah blah. I'll now see over 100,000 comments. So you see, the consolation is that at least I'm not the only one having that problem. That's the first thing. So when I see over 200,000 options, the first thing that comes to mind is that, so I'm probably not the only person having this kind of problem. And when I now take my time out to read different opinions, some not making sense, most making sense. So you cannot imagine having over 10,000 people advising you on something. There would always be a general pattern. So I had three best friends. The first was Quora, Quora. Second was Medium, and third was Google. So yeah, and yeah, those were the only three. Yeah, thank you. So those were the only three things out. Those were my three best friends. So whenever I felt vulnerable, I'll just go in there, type whatever is wrong with me, and then I'll get my answer. Then just recently, I just added my fourth best friend, which is podcast, listening to podcasts. So I hope one way or the other I've been able to answer your question. Okay, do you have another question?
Yes, I do. So this is from Martin. So he says, self awareness is great, but could it not also be a barrier? And sometimes our weaknesses could scare us from our vision and aspiration. Second part of the question. So, do we give up now because of some things we can't overcome?
Okay, I've never really been well. So can you take that first part again? I want to see how I can link that first part.
Yeah.
Whether self-awareness could be what?
Self-awareness is great, but
Yes.
could it not also be a barrier, because our weaknesses could scare us from going for our vision? So
Now,
maybe.
yeah. So now, what you just said also ties into the topic of today, negotiation. You negotiating for success, and you asking yourself, okay, fine, within the confines of whatever it is, I'm probably not too good at. What of what is the damage, or what are the downsides to me not being able to do this? Because one thing I'm going to tell you for free is that I've been able to come to terms with the fact that I cannot be good at everything. I just need to I just need to be very good at something, and be very, very good at it. Man, I won't lie to you. There are very, very few things I know how to do well. Oh. But you see, I know there are a lot of there are so many things I don't know how to do. But you see, the few things I know how to do, oh God, I know how to do them very well. I can, like I just mentioned, I was in litigation for 10 years, and I dare say it was a struggle. Now, everything that I do so well, is under the umbrella of mediation. Mediation is an amicable resolution of disputes. So, of course, if you're a very good mediator, you naturally be a very good negotiator. You see, so if you're a very good negotiator, one tool that you need is emotional intelligence. But you see, take me outside that. So what I've been able to do is to build is to have so much expertise in just one thing that it has covered for a lot of other things. I tell people that I'm one of the most fundamentally flawed human beings that we have around. If I tell you the things that I can't do physically, emotionally, socially, everything, Kali, you'll be very, very amazed. But I've just been able to focus my strength on that one thing to distract everybody away from every other thing that I don't do so well. And I've also come to terms with the fact that I cannot be good at everything. All I just need is just to find that one thing that I'm good at, and the others I let you go. That's why when I started off by saying you accentuate your strengths, and if you can, you let go of your weakness. And one issue, like my wife would say as an aside, I'm probably one of the most I'm one of the most domestically, is it domesticated or domestically challenged human beings on planet Earth. The only thing I know how to prepare, and I know I'm very, very good at, and I dare say there's nobody here that can beat me at it, is to make toast bread. Trust me. See, I'm very, very, very good at making toast bread, and I can cook noodles. Any other thing apart from those two, forget it. I'm a goner. I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to. I'm domestically challenged. I'm not too good at so many other things. So those are my weaknesses. Do I focus on them? No. Do I bother? No. The ones I know that I know how to do, I do them. The ones I know I don't know how to do, I delegate them out. I'm not a structured person. I lack organization. I lack. I'm not. I'm very, very, very impatient. I can't. The list is endless. But guess what? But with self-awareness, I know what my weaknesses are. So because of my so what I try to do is to work with people that strengthen my weakness. So it's more like a yin yang kind of thing. So like I have a PA. My PA is very structured. So what I try to do when I employ my staff is to make sure that they all have structure, because I know I'm not a structured person. So, but you see, and this is also where the principle of self-awareness ties into all of this, because I'm very, very aware of a lot of things that I know I am not. Everyone that works for me, they do so because of a lot of things that I'm not, and the things that I know that I do so well, which has to do basically with execution. I'm an executioner. Those are the ones I know I handle. So that way, it looks as if I'm the next best thing that came out of the world since sliced bread. Yeah, I don't know whether I've been able to answer that question in a way you would understand my thing. Do you have any other question?
That was really well answered. Let me check. I also had a question actually, but okay, so I have a question, and my question is it possible to be successful working with people you don't particularly like or people you don't get on with? So let's say you're in a 9 to 5 and you don't like your manager, your teammates are not like the ideal, you will not hang out with them outside of work, but generally they're good at what they do. Is there a limit? I guess this might be tying emotional intelligence a bit, but is success linked to likability at all, or to teams that you work with, or
My I can't stand my highest paying clients, and we both know that we can't stand each other. But guess what? We get the job done. I can't stand it. I've never met someone as arrogant and as belly knows when I'm supposed to. You tell me when to deliver, I deliver. Because really, you need to understand one thing. And I said this at the training I had 2 weeks ago. I said, your friend is your no no your colleague is not your friend. Your client is not your friend. Bev, you are my friend because we have shared values. So that is what makes us friends. And the only reason why you and I are friends is because it's either it's either there's something about you that reminds me of myself, or there's something about you that I admire. So that is the foundation of friendship. But when it comes to you being my colleague, the environment that we both work in demands that we have to achieve a course. The course is to get the job done. And there is no law that says that there has to be likeness to get the job done. But what you and I need to get the job done is what I would like to call workplace boundaries. I know you are Miss Onyejania. So I would always, if I meet you for the first time, the first question, like now, I just started calling you Bev. If it was in a workplace, I would naturally ask you, so how may I address you? You could be like, address me as Miss Beverley, address me as Mrs. Beverley, address me as Mrs. Onyejana, or simply call me Bev. So there are boundaries in place. So it doesn't matter whether you are nasty and all that, but at least respect me as a human being. Respect me as a human being. Let's not cross the boundaries of cross the boundaries of colleagueship, if there is a word like that. I won't come to your house, you won't come to my house. So really, the most important thing, the general trail that runs through everything really is boundaries. Know your boundaries. And once we both have boundaries, the framework of boundaries are expectations. I know what is expected of me to get this job done. You know what is expected of yourself to get the job done. Same as my clients too. He knows what is expected of him to get his job done. But the beauty about the relationship we have is that because I know he's a very funny person here, and he pays good money for it, I'm willing to let go, because at the end of the day, he gives me my respect. So if he gives me my respect, and I also get the job done, and I get paid for getting the job done, I don't really care about his personal attributes or philosophy to life. He doesn't. And interestingly enough, I've been able to meet other people through him. But the last thing that would ever happen is both of us probably going to have drinks, or both of us hanging out. That can never happen. It can't happen. So the short answer to your question is that success is not linked to likability. It's not linked, and that is why, in the general scheme of things, like I always tell people, emotional intelligence is key. Look, if there is one thing that I would like all of you to take out of all of this, is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is key. Once you have an understanding of yourself, you have an understanding of how to deal with others. And once you're able to understand that human beings should be grouped into four categories. If you don't inspire me, if you don't educate me, if you don't entertain me, then at the end of the day, if you don't respect me, then what are we? So what? There is no basis for fellowship in any way whatsoever. And the ironical part of life is that you see those people that don't have those four categories, that don't fall within those four categories, they are the ones that stress you the most in life. So while I have boxes for these four, I have a container for the last one. So people that don't fall into those ones, I just dump them in that container, and once in a while, I just shut the container up and I lock it. So I don't know whether I've been able to answer your question, Bev.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And my goodness, how did time run today? Like, it literally, we've even overrun. It's been honestly, like, you can see all the learning points I have on the side. So, so many. It's been, the feedback also coming through has been great. Martin said, thank you so much. I think he had to drop off. Ifoma, she's still here. She says, thanks so much. I learned a lot. Fola, you, as you know, you always exceed expectations. I never mentioned this, but I'm genuinely like blown away with the level of genuineness. When the boundaries just keep being pushed, and that's what it feels like when you as the host feel like, wow, I've been as engaged just as everybody else. And that's what it's about. It's about learning. Every day we're learning, every day we're negotiating, and every day we must be aware. Self awareness is the biggest takeaway, I think. Probably everybody else would agree. So just want to say a big thank you, Fola.
Thank
Huge
you so
thank
much.
you for being yourself, for keeping it real. The realness, I knew you would come with the realness. You
I'm
know.
sorry I struggled
No,
with the first 5-10 minutes when we
no,
started
you didn't.
because
You didn't.
yeah,
You didn't.
because
It was a lovely
eh,
build up. It was
yeah.
a great
Thank you
build
so
up.
much.
Yeah, no
Thank you
self
so
doubt,
much.
okay? It was brilliant. Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone,
much.
for your participation, the engagement. Ayomide, Yoma, Twale, Ifoma, Adenike, and the people who went off. Thank you all. And the link to this conversation will be available later. So, till next Monday, see you next time.
Thank you, Yoma. Thank you
Oh,
so much, Bev, for having me here. It was an
oh, it was
awesome
a pleasure.
session. Truly enjoyed this moment.
I'm
Thank you
glad.
very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay then. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.